If I'm Deshaun Watson, I've got a lot of doubt and a lot of cynicism about what's going on around me. When Cal McNair took over because his dad passed away, he was thrust into a role he was ill-prepared for. And the best thing you can do when you're ill-prepared is to know you're ill-prepared. But in this case, giving all of the control away to people within the organization that were kind of trying to seize all of the control has made it a mess. Bill O'Brien wanted his control, so he got GM. Jack Easterby wanted his control, so he got the power. Then Bill O'Brien was fired, and what you are left with is O'Brien was allowed to trade away players, to trade away draft picks, to assemble this roster, and then the moment that it didn't work and it was collapsing, fired him, and so now it's left to somebody else to pick up the pieces. So you were bullied or manipulated or convinced to give him all the power, and then once you got all the power, you realized how bad it was, and then fired him for somebody else to clean up. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm very down on my organization. I'm very, very down because what's around me is problematic. Now, the one good piece of news is Brandon Cooks played with the Patriots and has very high compliments for Nick Caserio. Said that Caserio will do anything that he can to win. He's just there to help, no ego, etc. And let's hope that's the case, because the one thing that I think that the Texans have been a victim of is ego. I think Bill O'Brien had a massive ego, and that really didn't jive with an organization that was used to Gary Kubiak, who did not. Kubiak was not a guy that needed to make it about himself. He was a guy that treated people well, was level-headed and even-keeled, and didn't have a massive arrogance. Bill O'Brien was all the opposite of those things. Was combative, wanted to make it about him, and had to do it his way. Adamant about him doing it his way. So that vibe has not been good for the Texans in general. And now Jack Easterby, a lot of ego as well. You know, the stories have been that Easterby always had his sights on personnel, even though he's only a team chaplain, wanted more control over an organization and started to manipulate things behind the scenes to get more control. And he was the one that wanted to push out DeAndre Hopkins. And he was the one getting in players' ears and telling them certain things that weren't registering or weren't resonating with them. And I think Easterby is an ego out of control as well. And they better hope that Caserio is the right fit there because he doesn't have one. Now, I don't know Caserio personally. I don't really know his reputation as well, because he's been behind the scenes. It makes me believe that maybe this is right, that he doesn't have a huge ego. It doesn't have to be about him. But he's going to pick up a lot of pieces here. And if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm wondering, I'm in my prime, I'm balling out. I could have been a league MVP with the numbers that he put up. I mean, nearly 5,000 yards passing, 33 touchdowns. And again, time after time was just let down by awful coaching and awful defense and awful situation around him. The good news is if I'm Deshaun Watson, I realize we were just in the playoffs last year and won a playoff game. We beat the Patriots at home last year in kind of a big footprint win. This year, it went to hell in a handbasket, and we don't have the draft picks. That's terrible. And the cap space is a problem. But that we're not far removed from winning. You know, in that clip, J.J. Watt says we should have been 11-5. We should have been 11-5. Instead, they were 4-12. If Deshaun Watson believes we're not that far from 11-5, then you can have some optimism. But if it's Watson right now and I'm him, I got a hard time remaining that optimistic.